Welcome back here with us at Overdrive. Now, when it comes to creature comforts, the bigger the list, the happier we are as consumers. So here's what the Tata Punch and the Citroen C3 have to offer.
Now step into the C3 from the Punch and immediately you get the sense that this is a larger car, and that's down to these vibrant colors and textures, again like in the Punch, that have been used here. But like in the Punch, the quality of plastics is about what you would expect at this price point. They're mostly hard and scratchy but well textured again. So they work smartly like Tata Motors to give you an enhanced sense of quality even though the materials themselves aren't quite up there. The seats feel a bit wider, again well bolstered, which again adds to that sense of space along with these larger windows, this larger windscreen. So in terms of outright space, yes, the C3 has a slight edge over the Punch. But look at the C3 in terms of the features list and you realize that this is going to be the deciding factor really between choosing between the two cars here. The absence of features is quite stark here. For example, you get manually operated mirrors. You don't get any of the high-tech features, for example, cruise control, auto headlamps and wipers. You don't get any of that. In fact, the kind of cost cutting that's gone on here is quite stark. For example, you don't get a dead pedal, and if you want to start the car, you don't need to press the clutch. That safety feature that you get in many cars, almost all cars nowadays, isn't there. Now, once you step inside the Punch, you can't miss that typical door thud that you expect in a Tata, that strong build. And when you sit inside, you notice that the Punch gives you just that bit more of that SUV sort of feeling in terms of the way it's designed mainly. For example, these horizontal layers that make up the top half of the dash, they sort of lend you that sense of being in an SUV, and you realize that both the cars here are built to a price. For example, these panel gaps aren't quite, consistent here. But again, there are other touches, for example, the way this AC vent functions or the way these switches function, which are a touch more damped, a bit better feeling in terms of quality than in the C3. Now coming to how the seats feel in the Punch, you notice that the cabin doesn't feel as wide as it is in the C3, even though the Punch is a wider car, and that's largely down to those seats. They are a bit narrower than the ones in the C3. So if you are a wider adult, then maybe they aren't the best fit for you, especially with these heavily bolstered sides. Now where the Punch really scores over the C3 is in the sheer amount of gadgetry that's on board here. You get connected tech, you get Watt 3 words, navigation, you get some nice sounding Harman audio, you get climate control, you get auto headlamps and wipers, you get cruise control, and you get this partly digital instrumentation, which usually we aren't big fans of. But here at this price point, it does make a lot of sense with the sheer functions that you can control through here. A lot of information available to you quite easily. You also get drive modes, which is another big addition at this price. So yeah, in terms of features, the Punch really has it over the C3. But yes, the C3 is still the more practical car in terms of thoughtful storage spaces. Now getting into the C3 isn't as easy as in the Punch, mainly because this opening here is quite narrow and there's a high sill, and the doors don't open obviously to the 90 degrees that the ones in the Punch do. But once you're inside, there's quite a big difference in the sense of space between the two cars. You have this theatre style seating which really helps. You sit quite high up, higher than these row of seats. The windows are large, so you get that sense that you are in a car which is quite a bit larger than the one in the Punch. But again, you notice that the middle passenger will be slightly hampered because there is a big hump here. So in terms of placing their feet, there is a problem, even though that big difference in wheelbase shows in terms of knee and leg room. The Citroen is significantly longer and that shows. And in terms of seats, the seats themselves, they are a bit flatter than the one in the Punch. They don't feel as body hugging as the one in the Punch, which is a bit of a drawback. Now, like in the front of the C3 where safety is a big attribute, here it's a mixed bag. You do get two USB ports which the Punch misses out on, which is a big miss. But again, the power windows are centrally mounted, so they're not that easy to reach. And the cup holders here, quite unlike the ones in the front, they're tiny, just enough for one bottle. So yeah, it's a mixed bag in terms of practicality in the back seat of the C3. So there's no dimming rear view mirror, no rear washer or wiper, no ISOFIX child seat mounts or a rear camera. You don't even need to press the clutch to start the car, which is a genuine hazard. In contrast, the Punch carries a 5-star global NCAP safety rating with all these features present. The only drawback here is the lack of ESC. Now stepping into the Punch is a lot easier than in the C3, mainly because of these 90-degree doors that are a big talking point with this Alpha platform of Tata Motors. And the seat height too, the hip point is quite high and this opening too is quite large, so getting in is not an issue at all. The door pockets are large too, unlike in the front, so again that's a positive. And you notice that again it's a very comfortable space to be in. Of course, in terms of knee room and leg room, the C3 has the edge because of its much longer wheelbase, but otherwise in absolute terms you have great underside support, and it's nice that you get a center armrest here because look at this, you can place your arms at an even angle, so it's very comfortable. There's a flat floor, so if you do carry a fifth passenger, they'll be happier in the Punch than in the C3. The C3, in true Citroen fashion, brings a fresh take on an affordable family car. It's about as good as a car in this price range can get, with its looks, space and driving feel. Had it been better packaged or fully lived up to its no-frills brief in terms of price, the Tata Punch would have had a tougher job. As it stands, the Punch offers more of what a new or cost-sensitive car buyer might want with its long features list, a touch more SUV character, good efficiency and competent driving dynamics.